It's Monday and we are on week 2 of Unit 8, still talking about things that go together. I'm going to list the supplies and books needed for this week in the description below, so check those out if you've been following along. This week, as always, we are going to use simple and basic activities to help our children build the foundations for their English, math, and language skills that are going to follow them all throughout their life. We're going to use mostly resources that you could find around your house, and these are easy to substitute if you don't have the exact things that we have been using. If you just happen to stumble upon this video, I will link our playlist so that you can catch us right from the beginning on Unit 1, Week 1. This morning you are to start, as always, with your morning circle or calendar time routine, and you're going to add in the song and poem that is included for this unit, and then we are going to get into today's read aloud, which is called Some Things Go Together. With this book, you want to reintroduce the idea of things just going together, and this also covers our things to talk about is the things in the book and how some things just fit together. As always, you are encouraged to do a picture walk through the book first, trying to guess what's going to happen with your child before you do an actual read aloud. Our learning activity today is magnetic sorting, and our easy activity today is going to be some sewing and lacing and threading. So let's do this. This morning we started out with the learning activity on the table, and I had just simply collected a tray. You want to have some magnetic things and some not magnetic things, and ask your child to find the magnetic items. Now, this is something that we have just played recently. My husband found some new magnets, so we were all about the house finding things that were magnetic and sticking together. We also have magnet tiles. We talk a lot about and play with a lot of magnets in this house. You coming up? So we continued on sorting the magnetic items from the non-magnetic items, and we also talked about opposing forces, how some magnets are drawn together and how some magnets push apart. This is something that Nola was actually telling me about since she has recently discussed this with her dad. Then we carried on with our magnets upstairs, and we just periodically kind of came back to this throughout the whole day, and it is one of this little guy's favorite activities. Yeah, he loves finding things that are magnetic. For our easy activity today, it's some threading. You want to take a paper plate, cut out the center of the paper plate, and then just punch some holes along the edge, and give your child a piece of yarn. Make sure you tape one end so it is easier for them to get it through the hole without it fraying, and show them how to thread it through the holes. Now, this is an activity where we... Hello. Hello. You need to be nose to nose right now. Yes. We have a couple of activities with just some simple lacing beads and a little block of cheese, wood cheese, that is very similar to this activity, but this time I presented it as sewing rather than threading. And Nola really loved it. She really liked making patterns. We turned them into hats, we turned them into masks. She didn't really need too much of my help to thread the lace through. Just some assistance with pulling it tight. She did need some help pulling the thread back through. That was a concept that she really couldn't fully get on her own yet. With this activity, I find it's easier to do 2 shorter pieces of yarn, or perhaps even 3, because if you get one big long piece, then it just kind of gets tangled, or they get flustered because they can't pull it tight and it starts knotting up. So that was it for today. Bye! Tuesday. So today you are to start, as always, with your morning circle time or calendar routine, and then we are going to review the topic of things that go together. Today's read aloud is simply a repeat of yesterday's book, and today you're just going to simply ask your child to identify what's happening on each page. For our things to talk about today, you're going to introduce the letter U, so you want to have this written in both upper and smaller case on a piece of paper, chalkboard, whiteboard, whatever you've got handy, and talk about the sound that it makes and some familiar words that your child knows beginning with this letter. This would be a good time to sneak in the fact that U always follows Q, which is the letter that we had just reviewed in the last part of this unit. And, you know, just let them know that Q and U, they're best buddies. Everywhere Q goes, there's always a U. And that this is how they always work together. Our learning activity is an alphabet hunt, and our easy activity is counting with coins. So let's do this. So we started out today with the easy activity on the table. And for this activity, you're to take a large sheet of paper or multiple smaller sheets and write out the letters, no, they're numbers. Write out the numbers 1 through 5, and then have your child place the coins on each number to cover all of the pen marks or marker, crayon, whatever you have used. While your child's doing this activity, it's a great time to talk about how coins go together. Nola had a lot of fun with this activity. We talked a lot about the different sizes of the coins. We didn't really get too much into the value, as that, you know, is a little beyond her comprehension level at this point. But we talked about the shapes and which ones are bigger and which ones are smaller, and how in Canada they don't even make pennies anymore, but we found one in our coin jar. Later on in the day, we got into our learning activity, which is an alphabet hunt. Now for this activity, yeah, you need to talk to me, huh? For this activity, it suggested in the program that you take a dry erase marker, write a bunch of letters on a window, and then have your child erase whatever letter you are calling out, and be sure to add in a lot of extra U's. Now, I still am not, haven't done this one on the window. We went downstairs to our dry erase board where I wrote out a bunch of letters, and then first I asked her to erase particular letter. Then when we got to the letter U, which we had the most of on the board, we started calling out words that we knew that started with the letter U. So we played this for a little bit, and then we got into where she would call out what letter she was erasing from the board. And this time I added a lot of letters and not many doubles, so she'd really have to search the board to find the letter that she was looking for. We did watch our book again this later on in the afternoon, which was what we did yesterday as well. But she's not too really into this book. I had to convince her to watch it again today, and I'm gonna say we watched it twice, but she fell off really shortly into the second viewing. And that was all for today. Okay, so we are about to start our activity now. Are we gonna make a silly sandwich, or are we gonna make a sandwich that goes together?
A silly sandwich.
A silly sandwich. What's gonna be on our silly sandwich? Let's collect some ingredients.
Jelly.
Wednesday. Today you are to start, as always, with your morning calendar or circle time routine. And then we are going to introduce our read aloud by playing a little game where we kind of did this in the last week of this unit, where I would say cupcakes and you would say sprinkles, or I would say peanut butter and you would say jam. You kind of start a sentence and leave your child to fill in the blank, which is going to lead us to the story called Do You Like Ketchup on Your Cornflakes? For our things to talk about today, you want to talk about things that don't go together, like broccoli and ice cream, cauliflower and cupcakes, pickles,
Ketchup and bread.
Ketchup and bread, pickles and peanut butter, stuff like that. Then we're going to get right into our learning activity, which is measuring our tables and chairs, followed by our easy activity, which is to make a sandwich. Today we started off with our story. I thought it was a great way to start the day and kind of set the scene. So we did a picture walkthrough of this book first, which was really fun. And then we did the actual read aloud on YouTube. And then that led us right into our things to talk about, which is our silly little song that we sing from the Sharon Lois and Bram song of peanut butter, jelly. And we just substituted in the jelly with some other obscene thing that wouldn't go with peanut butter. And then we took a turn doing it with something that goes with peanut butter. Then we got right into our learning activity, which is to take a ruler and you want to measure your table and chairs, or just things that go together. So this morning I brought out a ruler, which is a measuring instrument we have never used before. For this activity, you're not trying to get them to understand the concept of centimeters and inches. It's just how many rulers will it take for the height of the table, or the width of the table, or the height of the chair, across the seat of the chair, just using the ruler to see for a different measuring instrument. We measured a cup, we measured the placemats, we measured the iPad, and then we measured the table, then we got off and measured the chairs. Colton took a turn measuring the carpet, that's at the back door. He really liked using the ruler for this activity. And we are currently finishing our easy activity where Nola is making a sandwich behind me here, and she wanted to make... Not anymore, she's all done. Let's see. She wanted to make a silly sandwich, but then decided to put just jam on it because that's what we saw in the book. And now she's just eating it. It's pretty loaded with jam. She spread all the jam on by herself, which was fantastic. She did such a good job. And that's quite a lot of jam. Is it good?
Yeah.
What does jam go with?
Peanut butter.
Or your cheeks. So she's gonna finish off her sandwich, and that is it for the day. Done your sandwich?
Yeah.
Show me those jam hands. Oh my goodness, that is one jammy mess. Wednesday. Today you start out as always with your morning calendar or circle time routine. Then we are going to review the topic of things that go together with simple questions like what goes with a cup? What goes with the sun? Any way you want to refer to this just to keep the idea fresh. Then we get into today's read aloud, which is a repeat of yesterday's. 4 things to talk about today. You want to simply review the letter U. You want to have this written out somewhere for your child to see. You want to go over the sound that it makes and some familiar words that begin with this letter. Then we're going to get into our learning activity, which is matching some numbers, followed by our easy activity, which is some easy art. So let's do this. This morning we started out with our conversations of things that go together. This is a conversation we keep going on periodically throughout the day. When a certain subject comes out or when we're talking about a particular item, we'll start talking about things that go with it or things that don't go with it. We got right into our learning activity, which I had on the table. For this activity, you are to get some like a duplo block style Legos and write out numbers 1 through 10 on some blocks, and then draw out the coordinating number in little dots on other blocks and have your child match these blocks together. In the program, it suggests you use permanent marker, and that was some rubbing alcohol hand sanitizer and some scrubbing with a rough pad. It will come off. I just use a washable marker. I prep it the night before. It does start to rub off if your child really starts rubbing at it, but generally it stays on well because it's had all night to dry, and then you don't even have to rub it. As soon as it really touches water, it washes right off. So Nola got right into this activity. She quite liked this activity, and I noticed this time while we were doing this, because I kept the numbers 1 through 6 in the same pattern that you would see on a dice, she's starting to recognize the number pattern without having to count the numbers out loud. When it comes to the numbers 1 through 4, I noticed this. So I think that is great progress considering this is a pattern that we have fairly recently introduced. She didn't seem too interested in the book today. I offered a few times. I even watched it through with our son Colton 2 or 3 times, thinking that she would just come and join us, but no, it didn't happen. But that's totally fine. I know she gets the idea. So this afternoon we got into our easy activity, which is to paint the night sky. So it is suggested in the program that you get a black sheet of paper, give your child some white paint and a Q-tip. You help them cut out the shape of the moon and glue it on that paper, and then they are just to use the Q-tip to make a bunch of dots to emulate the stars and the night sky. So we generally did that. I helped Nola draw the moon on black paper with chalk because I just thought that would be a little bit quicker. And then I gave her some white paint along with some like glitter gel paint and a Q-tip. She went to town. She painted other planets. She painted shooting stars and meteors and rocket ships, and she just kind of went on and on. Just in our conversation about things that go together, we started talking about this in relation to the night sky and space. So as we were talking about all these items, she naturally began to start painting all of these items. So all in all, it was a fantastic activity and another super easy day. Friday. Today you're going to start, as always, with your morning circle time or calendar routine. Then we are going to get into today's read aloud, which is called Fluff and Billy. This is a really great book, and you are encouraged to do a picture walkthrough first before you do the actual read aloud. And then things to talk about today are to simply recap and recall the book. Try to encourage your child to tell you a piece from the middle. Now, try to get your... Let's start over. Try to get your child to... Encourage your child to tell you a piece from the beginning, from the middle, and from the end. Wow, that was difficult. Then also with our things to talk about today is just friendship and what are friends? What kind of things do friends do together? What kind of things do friends do for each other, and why they are so important to have? Our learning activity is an alphabet review, and our easy activity is letter coloring. So let's do this. This morning we started out with the learning activity on the table, but before we did that, we actually did the book first. We did a picture walkthrough successfully again this week with this book, guessing what was going to happen on each page, and I gotta say, Nola did a really good job at guessing what was going on here. So then we did the actual read aloud. We watched this through 3 times, I believe, and each time we watched it, Nola Nicola was able to recall more and more things that the two friends did together throughout this story. Then we got sidetracked by Easter because like Easter is a couple of weeks away and she has been anticipating the arrival of Easter since Christmas has ended. And then got right back on track with our learning activity, which is an alphabet hunt review magical game. So for this activity, you are to take a white sheet of paper and some white crayon and just write out the letters that we have done so far. Now let me see if I can get them all, but I'm probably not. So let's do this in no particular order. A, R, C, N, M, S, J, Q, U, N, and B. So you write these letters out in white crayon and then you give your child some watercolor paint and they paint over the white paper and magically they reveal the letters that are there. This is a really fun activity. We have done this a couple of times outside of this program and Nicola seems to enjoy it every time, but this time she was very excited every time she revealed a letter. So a couple of my tips on this activity. One is to prepare more than one sheet because your child's gonna have a lot of fun and it's gonna be over in like 20 seconds and they're gonna want to do it again. I personally prepared 3 sheets, one with the capital letters that we were reviewing, one with the small letters, and then one with just Nola's name in a mix of capital and small letters and her, upside down, sideways, and every which way on the piece of paper. She was thrilled to find a whole sheet of paper with just her name. I also don't use watercolor paint for this because I don't have any watercolor paint. I just get some food coloring and put it in some little tiny glasses with a little bit of water and it works just as good. So our easy activity for the day is the alphabet page and today it is the letter U. So if you can't print off a big letter U, then just simply get a pen or a marker and just do an outline of a big letter U and have your child color it and decorate it. It is suggested in the program that you also cut out the top of a little umbrella and help your child glue it onto the top so that U would look like an umbrella. And like I mentioned earlier, with it being so close to Easter around here, Nola just wanted to decorate it with Easter eggs. So that's what we did. We decorated it with Easter eggs. We may put an umbrella top on it later. I'm not really sure. But we took this opportunity while she was decorating the U to talk again about the letter U, the sound that it makes, some familiar words that we know that begin with the letter U, and U's best buddy, Q. I forgot to mention that earlier in the week when we were doing our letter review on U, I didn't mention this in any of the days, but what I've been doing lately is just drawing out some pieces of paper with the letter we're reviewing on it, and Nola has been tracing them for our letter review, and this is when we talk about the letter and the sounds that it makes and the familiar words we know that begin with that letter. And that's all for the week.